You're not breaking down. You're just waking up to a life that no longer fits. There's a particular kind of quiet emptiness, isn't there? It's not the loud, chaotic crash of a tragedy. It's the opposite. It's the silence that settles in after you've checked all the boxes. You got the job. You have the relationships. You pay the bills. You do the things. From the outside, the picture looks perfect. But when you stand inside that picture, you feel hollow. The conversations that once sparked your interest now feel like reciting a script. The goals you chased and finally achieved. They gave you a flicker of satisfaction, maybe, but not the deep, sustaining warmth of meaning. You look in the mirror, and the person looking back is a stranger you've spent a lifetime building, but it's not you. If you are feeling this, good. That feeling isn't a problem. It's not a sign that you're ungrateful or broken. It is a signal. It is the most honest part of you, your inner soul, your logos, as the Stoics would call it, finally speaking up after years of being polite. And it's whispering, this is not it. And then, on a day that feels just like any other, you find this. You stumble upon a video, a quote in a book, or a line in a song that makes your chest tighten. It doesn't scream, it just lands. You can't explain why, but it feels like it was sent directly to you at this exact moment. The psychologist Carl Jung had a beautiful name for this. He called it synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence. It's when the outside world, this video, perfectly aligns with the inner world, that feeling of emptiness at the precise moment you need it. But here's the part they don't often tell you. It's not magic, it's physics. Your soul has been sending out a frequency. That feeling of, is this all there is? That was a broadcast. You've been asking the universe for an answer. And the universe answers, not by giving you what you want, but by showing you what you're ready to see. You didn't just find this video, you were attuned to it. The Stoics, the ancient philosophers of resilience, understood this differently but just as powerfully. They believed we each have a daimon, an inner guiding spirit, our true north. For years, we ignore it. We let the noise of the crowd, the demands of society, and the fear of judgment dictate our lives. We build a fortress of external validation, money, status, likes, believing it will keep us safe. But that emptiness you feel, that's your inner spirit, your daimon, tapping on the walls of that fortress, saying, you built this to keep the world out, but you've accidentally trapped me in. This video isn't here to teach you something new. My voice isn't here to give you answers you don't already have. This is a signal to awaken what you have always known, but were forced to forget. It's a reminder of the you that existed before you started asking for permission to be yourself. Because the things that truly change us rarely arrive with fireworks and applause. They come in the quiet moments, the 3 a.m. anxieties, the long commute home in silence, the moment you realize you have nothing left to hold on to. And in that surrender, you finally feel a strange sense of relief. You can't explain it. You just feel it, deep in your core. This is what I needed to hear. Perhaps it's not you who found this message, but this message that has been patiently waiting for you to be quiet enough to hear it. So, the question isn't just, are you ready to listen? The real question is, are you willing to stop pretending? Are you willing to dismantle the life that looks good to build the one that feels true? Because the first step on this journey, it isn't joy. It isn't light. It's the terrifying, liberating realization that the shell you've lived in is beginning to crack. And that, right there, is the first and most crucial sign of your awakening. The signal has landed. You heard the whisper in the silence. But the first sign of this awakening is not a burst of light. It's a terrifying moment of quiet. It's the silent morning when you wake up, look at your familiar life, and realize, I can't keep living like this anymore. There was no tragedy, no crisis, no great betrayal, just a regular Tuesday. Yet deep inside, where your inner compass lives, you feel a small, almost inaudible crack, as if your own soul has finally reached its limit and it's whispering, enough. This is the moment Carl Jung described as the beginning of individuation. It is when the soul starts the painful process of dismantling the social mask, the persona, that it once built for protection and acceptance. Think of that mask. We crafted it meticulously, didn't we? The good employee, the strong friend, the always in control partner. We wore it because we confused social acceptance and external, a stoic indifferent, with internal peace, the only true good. But the moment that shell cracks, you split in two. One part of you, the programmed self, panics. It clings to the mask, screaming, if I drop this, I will lose everything. They will leave me. But the other part, the authentic, true self, your daimon just wants to breathe. It wants to live honestly, in accordance with its true nature. The discomfort is immediate. You ask yourself the most terrifying question. What is wrong with me? Why is everything suddenly meaningless? The genius of Stoicism offers a powerful reframe here. The ancient Stoics knew that discomfort is not a flaw. It is the price of wisdom. Epictetus said, it is difficulties that show what men are. That crack is simply the price your rational mind must pay to shed the illusion. The crack isn't a sign that life is collapsing. It's a sign that your soul is rising. We spend decades seeking stability in the predictable job, the safe routines, the polite conversations. We convince ourselves we're okay while our true self is suffocating beneath the rubble of expectation. The crack is not a tragedy. It's truth wanting to be born. Like a seed, before it can sprout into a great tree, it must crack its own shell. From the outside, that looks like breaking. From within, it is life beginning. Yet most of us choose numbness. We are so terrified of the emptiness revealed by the crack that we rush to patch it with distractions. A new high-paying job, a reckless trip, a temporary relationship. This is the ultimate form of escapism, Jungian. The Stoic discipline demands the opposite. Stand still. Do not run. Do not patch. You cannot build a new foundation on top of a crumbling lie. You must allow the old structure to fall completely. I once knew a woman, a high-powered executive, the quintessential strong one. She carried the company, the family, and the expectations of everyone. She never complained. She was a fortress of reliability. But one afternoon, driving home from an unremarkable meeting, she simply pulled her car over to the side of the road and sobbed uncontrollably for 20 minutes. Not because of a loss, but because of an overwhelming realization. I can't do this one more day. In that moment, she thought she was breaking down. But looking back, she realized that was the day her soul reclaimed its authority. It forced her to say no, to rest, and for the first time, to see herself not to judge, but to understand. She lost her persona, but she found her true self. The discomfort you feel, the loss of appeal in your old joys, is the pain of birth. Jung called it the necessity of pain for consciousness. You are not feeling pain because you failed. You are feeling pain because you are growing. Don't run from this uncomfortable phase. Don't rush to return to how things were, because how things were is exactly what your soul is trying to outgrow. Let the crack exist. Observe it without judgment, as a Stoic would observe a storm. Listen to it. Let it guide you. Beneath that breaking surface, a deeper, truer, and infinitely more resilient version of you is being born. The collapse is not the end. It is the signal of beginning. It is the moment you confront the terrifying truth that you must finally become yourself. But once the shell cracks, the quiet is broken. The soul begins to speak its own strange language, from crisis to a profound, undeniable calling. Once the shell cracks, the silence is broken by a sound you haven't heard since childhood. Your own voice. The initial panic from the cracking subsides, leaving behind an unsettling stillness. On the surface, the world keeps spinning. You still laugh. You still go to work. But deep inside, something has fundamentally shifted. This is the subtle exhaustion you can't cure with sleep. This is the strange sense of disconnection in a life that should be stable. You look around and you realize everything is intact. The relationships, the career, the bank account, except for you. You feel like a guest star in your own life. Carl Jung called this the uprising of the unconscious. The parts of your psyche that you buried, the creativity you suppressed, the dreams you postponed, the traumas you refused to look at are now demanding an audience. They don't storm in like thunder. They seep in through the edges. An inexplicable mood swing, a sudden flood of tears watching an old movie, or a recurring motif in your dreams. It is the subconscious mind finally telling the conscious mind, the terms of agreement have changed. Many people think they are having a breakdown, but the Stoics and Jung understood it as a breakthrough. It is not pathology. It is the psyche's fierce attempt to transform. This is where the true energy of change is found, in the tension. The tension between your unconscious, which screams for authentic change, and your conscious mind, which desperately clings to the old, comfortable routine. The Stoic philosopher Seneca taught us that misfortune is the gymnasium of virtue. If we reframe this tension through a Stoic lens, it becomes the necessary friction, the fire that burns away complacency. If you ignore this fire, it manifests elsewhere. Chronic fatigue, depression, or events that force you to stop. What looks like misfortune, what looks like failure, is often the soul's most direct form of communication. Modern neuroscience even confirms this. A crisis isn't just emotional stress. It is a moment of neural restructuring. Your brain is breaking old pathways built on fear and conformity to create new connections rooted in self-awareness and truth. You are literally being rewired for a deeper level of maturity. Society demands conformity. It lulls us with the illusion of stability. But when we live too long by someone else's script, our inner daimon, our truest guiding nature, rebels. The soul doesn't speak in logical arguments. It speaks in feelings, in unease, and in synchronicity. I remember the story of a woman whose life was the definition of success. An enviable career, financial freedom, a happy marriage. Yet she fell into a deep, wordless depression. She woke up every morning with an emptiness she couldn't name. It wasn't until she started charting her dreams that she noticed a pattern. She was constantly wandering through a huge, ornate house, unable to find the door out. Jungian therapy helped her see the truth. The huge house was her ego, perfectly constructed and outwardly impressive. The missing door was her soul, locked away. Her depression was not her enemy. It was her logos, her inner reason calling out. It was an invitation home. This perfectly embodies the Stoic concept of amor fati, love of fate. We are called to love the things that happen to us, even the pain, even the crisis, because that fate is the exact material we need to shape our character. You must accept the breakdown, because the breakdown is the material for your breakthrough. Now, look at your own life. Has your breakup, that unexpected career change, or that chance encounter with a person who said exactly what you needed to hear, truly been random? No. That is synchronicity, the meaningful alignment of the outer and inner worlds. The universe isn't testing you, it's tuning you. 522. Just as a fever signals the body's self-healing process, a crisis signals the soul's rebirth. It doesn't destroy you, it purifies you. If the previous stage was the crack where the light entered, this is the stage where your soul is now actively speaking, urging you to listen to its strange, non-logical language. The call of the soul starts as a quiet stream, often disguised as fatigue or unease. But if you listen to the current, it will become the river that carries you out of the old land and toward the territory of your true self. But every great river must first pass through the narrowest, darkest gorge, and that is the gate of suffering. We must confront the ultimate truth about pain. The moment the soul's voice grows loud, the light fades, and you are led to the one place we are trained our entire lives to avoid. the dark. Every soul, before entering a deeper stage of awakening, must pass through the narrow gate called suffering. We are raised in a world that sells happiness as the standard and treats pain as a moral failure. Don't be sad, don't be weak, be positive. But this modern obsession with comfort is, ironically, the greatest obstacle to inner peace. Carl Jung warned that it is precisely the avoidance of pain that disconnects us from our soul's potential. He wrote, "Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. When we refuse to consciously walk through the fire of necessary pain, that pain does not disappear. It metastasizes into anxiety, depression, and addictive cycles. The suffering you feel is not evidence of failure. It is a sign of readiness. It is the beginning of the soul's intentional disintegration, a painful, necessary process where all the false layers are stripped away to reveal the indestructible core." The Stoics understood this perfectly. They taught us that while pain is a dispreferred indifferent, the only thing that matters is our judgment and our response to it. The storm is coming regardless. Your only power is how you navigate the ship. When you feel lost and empty, the pain is forcing you to stop running and finally face what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is the repository of every part of yourself you denied to fit the mask. Your selfishness, your vulnerability, your deep-seated resentments, and your suppressed grief. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This is the core of integration. You stop dividing yourself into good and bad. You realize that strength isn't the absence of weakness. It's the courage to acknowledge it all. You merge the light and the dark within you to become whole. Consider the story of the female painter who sought artistic perfection for years, chasing acclaim and critical approval. This external pursuit led to a creative crisis. She couldn't even touch the canvas. She realized her goal wasn't art, it was validation. In her darkest moment, instead of forcing the paint, she stopped. She allowed the pain and the emptiness to flood her. She let the mask of the great artist crumble. When she finally painted again, she painted not for the audience, but for the raw, imperfect truth inside her. The pain hadn't destroyed her. It had stripped away the false necessity of perfection, leaving only the authentic self. She said, "I didn't just survive the pain. The pain brought me back to who I truly am." In mythology, we find the archetype of this truth, Prometheus. He stole fire, the symbol of consciousness and enlightenment from the gods. And for that, he was chained to a rock, destined to have his liver devoured by an eagle every day, only for it to regenerate at night. This is not just punishment. It is the ultimate symbol of awakening. To gain consciousness, we must endure the pain. The liver, devoured daily but regenerating, represents the eternal cycle of destruction and rebirth. You are not destroyed by your suffering, you are expanded by it. The suffering you are going through, the loss of what defined you, the sudden weakness, is the initiation of the soul. It forces you to look inward and realize that when you lose everything that was external, only one thing remains: your presence. 455. If you are standing in the storm right now, feeling alone, adrift, and uncertain, remember this. Pain doesn't come to shrink you. It comes to open you. It is removing what no longer fits so that you can touch what is absolutely real. Look back at your life. How many endings once felt like a collapse, but eventually led you to something deeper, truer, and more alive? Suffering, when seen through the eyes of the soul and the discipline of the Stoic, always carries a hidden order. So, stand still. Don't try to make the pain disappear. Listen, because the pain has burned away the false. And now, you must confront the greatest collective lie we all live under: the need to belong. It's time to awaken from the crowd. The pain has done its job. The fire has burned away the false. But now, you must confront the greatest collective lie we all live under: the need to belong. The final stage of awakening is realizing you have outgrown your tribe. You no longer fit in the places you once loved. After passing through the fire of suffering, you look back at the old life, the old ambitions, and the desire to impress, and they feel incredibly distant. The shallow conversations, the relentless need for validation, the old gossip, they don't just bore you, they feel physically exhausting. You cannot go back. The you that fit in there is gone. Carl Jung identified this as the true sickness of modernity, conformity. We exchange our singular, unique soul for the cheap comfort of collective approval. We trade our truth for a seat at the table. We lose our inner voice so we can be told we belong. When your soul has been woken up, that conformity becomes suffocating. You feel like an alien wearing a human suit. You feel profoundly alone in places you once called home. The noise of the crowd, which once provided a distraction, now feels like an intrusion. This feeling of alienation is what Jung called the crisis of separation, and it is absolutely necessary. The Stoic philosophy provides the solution. This loneliness is not a punishment. It is the gift of solitude. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, constantly wrote about withdrawing to his inner citadel, a fortress of the mind built on virtue and reason, untouchable by external chaos. Solitude is the empty space required for the soul to expand, and for your true, unique character, individuation, to finally take shape. Epictetus warned us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and dull with respect to external things. Embracing the solitude means embracing the willingness to be misunderstood by the crowd. You prioritize your own rational judgment, your logos, over the consensus of the irrational. The crowd offers warmth, but it demands uniformity. The awakened self chooses the cold, clear air of independence over the suffocating heat of the group. Think of the female director we discussed earlier. For years, she was a darling of the critics. Her films were technically brilliant, perfectly timed, and commercially successful. But she had made a deal. She traded her artistic soul for the applause of the crowd and the prestige of the industry. When her shell cracked, she stopped. She walked away from a multi-million-dollar project. She chose to make a small, deeply personal documentary about her family's immigration story, knowing it would never win a major award. She lost the big studio backing, the celebrity friends, and the widespread fame. She traded the noise of the entire film community for the quiet, enduring respect of her own artistic integrity. She ultimately lost her reputation, an external indifferent, but she found her true creative force, an internal virtue. The crowd had defined her value. Her solitude allowed her to redefine it herself. This is the core truth of this final stage. Awakening is not rebellion. It is not about shouting at the crowd or trying to prove them wrong. It is the profound, quiet act of withdrawing your authority. You are not against the crowd. You are simply no longer of the crowd. You are taking back the power to define your own value. You are trading the fleeting, external applause for the quiet, permanent stability of your center. Your virtue, your character, your integrity that is your center. The crowd can take your job, your money, your fame, and even your health, but they can never touch your center. This intellectual independence is the greatest gift of the Stoic path. You are finally free from the most pervasive form of slavery, the tyranny of other people's opinions. Embrace the quiet, clear air of your solitude. Embrace the knowledge that the world will misunderstand you, and that is perfectly acceptable. You have finally traded the noise for the truth. You now have your center, your integrity, and your true voice. The final question then is not, who am I? But what am I meant to do with this life? It's time to confront the ultimate responsibility, your destiny. You know your center. You've accepted the loneliness. You've let the pain burn away the false. Now comes the moment of deepest terror, the moment you must choose to leave your old self behind. The hardest part of the awakening journey is not climbing the mountain. It is the final, terrifying moment when you must divorce the person you spent a lifetime pretending to be. We call this the psychic leap. It's not a physical act. It's an internal decree. I will not, for one more day, live a lie. It is the highest expression of your prohairesis, the Stoic term for your moral will, the only thing truly under your absolute control. You have the rational clarity, but the old self fights back with the only weapon it has left: fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of financial ruin, fear of what the quiet silence will reveal about your own mediocrity. Every fear is simply a whisper about losing something external, something the Stoics taught us was never truly ours to begin with. Why does the fear feel paralyzing? Because the leap requires you to step into the unknown, not only with your true self, but with your whole self, including the parts you despise. You must accept the shadow you confronted in the darkness, your capacity for selfishness, your deep-seated wounds, and your undeniable imperfections. The terror isn't losing the world. It's the fear of fully accepting you. In this moment, you confront the inner dragon. The dragon is the mythical guardian of the treasure, your authentic self. It is the sum total of every doubt, every past trauma, and every societal expectation that resists your true purpose. Understand this: the dragon only roars when you are close to the treasure. It only starts to breathe fire when you stop running and turn to face it. And here is the paradox: the dragon only has the power to burn the illusion. The fire will incinerate the mask, the comfortable lies, and the fear-based constructs of your old life. It will not touch your true core. Consider the perfect wife. She built her entire identity on accommodation, sacrificing her needs, time, and sanity for the sake of an external relationship. Her greatest fear was being unloved or left alone. So, she kept her true opinions locked away, becoming smaller and smaller. Her psychic leap wasn't a grand exit. It was small, internal. One day, when asked to take on one more task she didn't have the energy for, she simply looked up and said, quietly, "No." That single word was an earthquake. The old structure trembled, but the world didn't end. Her husband didn't leave. Instead, she felt a profound, exhilarating lightness. She had chosen self-respect, a virtue, over external approval and indifference. She realized her fear wasn't a stop sign. It was a compass pointing directly toward the growth her soul needed. The ultimate Stoic truth is this: you cannot be hurt by the loss of things that are not truly yours. Let the fear of loss of money, of reputation, of love be the wind that pushes you toward the leap. The leap is scary because it is irreversible. Once you have seen the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you have chosen authenticity, the lie becomes intolerable. So, stand at the edge. The dragon is roaring right now because you are on the brink of profound change. Don't try to defeat the dragon. Just choose to walk through the fire. Let the fire burn away everything you are not. Your fear is not a sign of weakness. It is the final, undeniable signal that you are standing at the threshold of your soul's greatest potential. Take the leap. Trust the character built through the cracking, the voice, and the fire. You are ready. You have now crossed the threshold. You have embraced the truth. The final, life-defining question is no longer who you are, but how you will now choose to serve the truth you found. It is time to look at your ultimate responsibility, your destiny. You have crossed the threshold. You have faced the dragon, and you have chosen truth over comfort. You know your center. You know your calling. And now the first and heaviest truth you must carry is this: no one is coming to save you. This journey of awakening, the process of individuation that Carl Jung mapped out, is the most lonely journey a human can undertake. No guru, no partner, no book, and no self-help video can walk this path for you. They can only point to the gate. You must walk through the fire alone. This truth is difficult because the wounded inner child within us is addicted to the savior archetype. We spend our entire lives waiting for the boss to finally notice our worth, waiting for the perfect partner to complete us, waiting for the government or the lottery to solve our problems. We believe that somewhere, somehow, An external force will arrive, swoop us up, and magically fill the empty space inside. But the more you wait to be saved, the more you outsource your power. You hand the steering wheel of your life to the same external forces, the crowd, the critics, the whims of fortune that drove you into the initial emptiness. The only way to reclaim your power is through what we call radical responsibility. This is the ultimate Stoic discipline. It means taking 100% ownership of your responses, your judgments, and your actions. It is the core of the dichotomy of control. You are not responsible for what happens to you, but you are completely and absolutely responsible for how you react to it. Radical responsibility means stopping the dangerous question, "Why did this happen to me?" and replacing it with the powerful question, "What is this event asking of me?" The moment you stop asking for rescue is the moment you step out of the victim archetype and into the role of the agent, the hero of your own story. This transformation is beautifully captured by the actress Viola Davis, who, after years of being overlooked in Hollywood, famously said, "The day I stopped waiting for someone to choose me was the day I finally chose myself." That single sentence is the essence of individuation. It's the declaration that my worth is not determined by the external choice of a director, a boss, or a lover, but by the internal, unwavering choice of my own logos, my inner reason. Jung gave us the most profound insight into this shift when he stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For the Stoic, fate, external events, is inevitable. But Jung teaches us that the emotional fate, the way we interpret and suffer through those events, is often controlled by our unconscious, unexamined beliefs. If you unconsciously believe, "I am not worthy," then every external event, a slight, a failure, will be interpreted through that lens, and you will call the resulting pain your bad luck. Taking radical responsibility means confronting those unconscious beliefs. You seize control of your inner judgments, and in doing so, you change your emotional destiny. You are not controlling the events, but you are controlling the only thing that matters, your freedom from the suffering those events cause. This self-reliance is not selfish. It is the ultimate service. You can only be a lighthouse for others if you have first built and lit your own fire. You are not meant to be a passenger in your own life. You have awakened precisely so you can be the architect of your own character. You are the one you have been waiting for. This self-reliance is not the end of the journey. It is the ultimate foundation. You have achieved self-mastery, but mastery is not static. It requires perpetual service. It is time to embrace the final, beautiful step of the awakened life, living out your destiny. You have achieved self-mastery. You have embraced the terrifying responsibility of your own life. And now, you realize the profound, final irony of the journey. You have returned to the one place you never left. The moment you stopped looking for it, you became the very thing you were searching for. The journey was never about becoming better. It was about returning to the person you were before the world told you who to be. It was about stripping away the false layers, not adding new ones. Carl Jung called this ultimate state the self, the union of the conscious and the unconscious, the light and the shadow, the acceptance of everything you are. The internal war is over. The fighting stops. In this state of integration, you cease to be a person chasing happiness. You realize, as the Stoics defined eudaimonia, human flourishing, that you are happiness, a state attained by living consistently, rationally, and virtuously. Happiness is not an external goal to be pursued. It is an internal state to be chosen. The old pains lose their weight. They don't disappear, but they become like old scars, markers of battles won, not open wounds, dictating your present. You stop comparing your worth to others because your center is now defined by your own unwavering character. Think back to the woman who searched the globe for peace. She crossed oceans, climbed mountains, and sat in temples, always seeking a new, mystical location to finally quiet her mind. Yet, The moment of revelation came when she was simply sitting on her own porch, watching the rain, and slowly, mindfully, making a cup of tea. Peace wasn't in the external travel, it was in the internal integration. Her soul and her life were no longer separate. She was no longer doing something to achieve peace. She was simply being present. When you reach this level of self-mastery, every action becomes a meditation. Doing the dishes, writing a report, running a meeting, it is all done with full presence and virtue. That is your destiny. To live every mundane moment as an act of truth. This is the stillness of the lake, the tranquility, athemia, the Stoics aimed for. The wind on the lake is the constant churn of external chaos, the news, the opinions, the fear. You stop trying to control the wind. You simply focus on making the water, your mind, still. When you stop resisting the what is, the mind settles. And for the first time, it perfectly reflects the order of the cosmos without distortion. And in that stillness, you begin to live in true synchronicity. You realize that the universe never makes mistakes in its timing. The pain came exactly when it needed to. The emptiness arrived precisely to clear the space. The signal came only when you were finally attuned to receive it. This is the ultimate peaceful acceptance of amor fati, love of fate. The panic of what if dissolves, replaced by the deep trust in your own character. Because you know, with stoic certainty, that whatever the external world sends your way, your internal fortress is now built, and you are ready to meet it with virtue. You are no longer waiting for the next signal. You are the signal, a living testament to the possibility of awakening. Go live the life you discovered. Go live the truth you finally accepted. The greatest journey you will ever take is the 18 inches between your head and your heart. You've made the journey. You've returned home. Thank you for walking this path with me. Now, the only thing left to do is to go back to the beginning of this video and see if you can hear the first whisper of that signal with the clarity of the person you have become. You have journeyed through the crack, the fire, and the solitude. You have achieved self-mastery, and now, stand still and realize the destination was simply the realization of the journey. This moment, this clarity, this acceptance of your own story, this is your destiny. Not a grand title or an external monument, but the unwavering state of your character. You must understand that nothing that brought you here was accidental. Every confusion, every heartbreaking loss, every bewildering synchronicity you experienced was the silent, beautiful evidence of the Logos, the rational order of the universe working its perfect plan for your evolution. The setbacks were not punishment. They were the universe's persistent, sometimes brutal whisper saying, "It is time to look within." Your path was always perfectly unfolding. The loss simply cleared the road of things that could not go where your soul needed to go. This is the ultimate peaceful embrace of amor fati, love of fate. To look back at the chaos and the confusion and say, "Thank you. That was the only way I could have become this." And here is the profound, final reminder. You were never lost. You thought you were searching for a map, a guru, or a new identity. But the truth is, this video didn't change you. It simply reminded you everything you needed for this journey: the courage to face the shadow, the wisdom to accept the painful truth, the temperance to choose patience, and the justice to live authentically. It was already locked inside your inner citadel. It was your birthright. The emptiness you felt at the beginning was not a void in your life. It was the sacred, silent space where your true self was patiently waiting for the false self to finally leave. The awakening is not the sound of thunder. It is the gentle, quiet moment when you stop searching and realize you are home. The journey back is not about finding a new belief system. It is about committing to a new way of living, one where the soul and the character are in constant, harmonious agreement. Live from the center you found. Guard your virtue, for it is the only true good. Accept the externals with composure, for they are the material of your growth. And trust the timing of your life. For you are living in synchronicity. If you take one message away from this journey, let it be this: your life is your masterpiece, and your character is the only currency that matters. Go live, not chasing light, but being the light. The most important journey you will ever take is the 18 inches between your head and your heart. You've made the journey. You've returned home. Thank you for walking this path with me. Now, the only thing left to do is to go back to the beginning of this video and see if you can hear the first whisper of that signal with the clarity of the person you have finally remembered yourself to be.